Hi everybody, we're in week 6. This is the final week. All of your work needs to be in on time on this last class. I need to be able to do all my grades and get them in from Monday or Tuesday. If you have anything that's outstanding, you need to contact me and we can figure out what the plan is going to be, or if it's too late to turn it in. Again, my number for that is 413-883-3537. Please feel free to call me or send me an email to sfiggy@baypath.edu. This week, we're going to be doing I love working with juveniles, and the first part of this is on juveniles. And a lot of things have happened in the course of the last 10 years in Massachusetts, and I encourage you to look at your state as well. At one point in time, if you were a juvenile, if you were under the age of 17, and so the minute you turned 17, the day you turned 17, you were treated as an adult. That has changed. The age is now 18 in Massachusetts. But a lot of things changed, and that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at. We're going to be, your discussion is going to be on judicial waivers and what you think about the waiver system, and should children or juveniles be treated as an adult? And if someone's 17 years old, how much time should they do? Should they be sent to jail for life? Keeping in mind that most people, most males, I'm going to use males, outgrow crime by the age of 27. But in Massachusetts, as I said, they raised it to 18 in 2013. This was huge because what happened was they also put into effect a lot of diversion, a lot of where somebody wouldn't have a criminal record. You're not found guilty in the juvenile court, you're found adjudicated. So in juvenile court, what happened is juvenile crime, when they changed it to 18, it declined by 34%. They added an age from 17 to 18, so anybody under the age of 18 was now a juvenile, and crime declined by 34%. I thought that was really interesting to see. They also got rid of where a lot of status offenses, and one of the things that at one point in time is you could be arrested if you were a runaway. That has all changed, and they have a whole new system that goes into effect. In fact, to be honest with you, it's really hard because it doesn't have any bite to it. You're required to go to school till you're 16, but if you don't go, then your hands are up in the air. What are you going to do? You can't incarcerate somebody for a status offense, meaning by age alone. It's because they're age alone. They're not going to school. You can't incarcerate them. You can't. There's a lot of things that you can't do. So even like a runaway, if you have a runaway and you know where the runaway is, you're really limited to telling the parents where that child is. It's very frustrating for parents. It's very frustrating for police, but there's no real good fix there. And they're working on it, but there's no real good fix right at the moment. So this week, as I said, you're going to be looking at your juvenile justice system and the connection it has to the adult criminal justice system. Remember, you need to have one, at very least, you have to have one good source there. Now, one of the sources that I thought was really kind of interesting to look at was raisetheagema.org, and it gives a whole fact sheet. And I thought that if you look at that, you're going to see how things have changed, if you have a 17-year-old that's tried as an adult. So in Massachusetts, if you're between the ages of 14 and 18, you can be tried as an adult. And you can be put in jail for quite a bit of time. And those sentences are all over the place, but you're not sent there for the rest of your life, but they have changed it somewhat. So take a look at that and tell me what you think about it. And remember, if you're charged with first-degree murder, there's a lot that goes into that. That's not something where you did it spontaneously. It's where you put a lot of thought into it. You also cannot be charged with a crime in Massachusetts if you're under the age of 7. And I think I told some of you, or at least one or two of you in this class, I had a kid that I got called for that was trying to kill his teacher by sticking a pencil into the hollow of her throat. And it was very actively trying to kill her. But he was 6 years old. So now what do you do with a 6-year-old that's actively trying to kill somebody? And the parents, the mother refused to go to the school because she said, not my time. You get him during school, I get him after school. You figure it out. Well, we had no choice. I had to do something because he was truly continuing to try to stab. This went on for like a couple hours. I ended up what they call a Section 12, which means that I ended up committing him, bringing him to the hospital to be evaluated, because that's what I can do. There's no age limit on that. And it was important for me. Why does a 6-year-old want to kill somebody? And by the way, I don't have the answer to that to this day, why he wanted to kill somebody. So that's your question here. Remember, you must do four responses to get your full. And you need to do your discussion on time as well to have it count. But if you, for some reason, don't get your discussion in, make sure you do your responses, all 4, so you can get credit for at least 60%. The next part we have this week is going to be, your assignment is going to be having to do with choose 2 to 3 of the following transnational crimes. Now, first of all, you have to know what a transnational crime is. And number one transnational crime would be drugs. That's number 1, illicit drugs. So when you look at that transnational crime, what does it mean? What is that? How does that fall into every single day? What is a transnational crime? All right. And it's a crime that have actual potential effect across national borders. So it goes across borders. It's interstate. How do all of these fall in? So when I look at drug trafficking, that's the biggest, number 1. But how does human trafficking go hand in hand with organ trafficking? And how does wildlife fall into play here? Where do we see wildlife trafficking? That's a very high number up there. And when you start looking at green crimes, that's one of the big green crimes. Is wildlife trafficking is one of the largest. There's money in that, and it's definitely, you're seeing a lot from artifacts all over as well. So look at those. Terrorism. I think we're living terrorism every single day. I think some of you, I've showed this little trick on how to do things. If you're going to do, like, you can do human trafficking. All right, highlight it, search Google, put transnational, and see what it has to say. See what's out there. What are some examples of it? It helps you research things. So I want to make sure you understand this. You must have 4 pages here. You must have 4 pages of, of content. 4 pages of content. All right. The body of the paper, 4 to 5 pages. The first page will be your cover sheet with just your name and what you're doing it on. The last page will be your sources. There are some great sources out there. I will be more than glad to give you some of them. I'm going to send you one for the first part of the discussion on Massachusetts general laws having to do with juveniles. I hope that will help you. On human trafficking, you can look those up. On drug trafficking, there's certainly an abundance of those. If you look under the FBI, the FBI has a lot of sources that are out there for transnational organized crime. I'm going to send you that one as well. In fact, I'm going to try and put it here right now. So the FBI has them as well, and I will send this to you because it gives you a lot of good information. And I think you'll be intrigued by that last paper because it's actually, there's an awful lot of good things to write about here. Organ trafficking. That really can pique your mind, but it also, as I said, would go in line with human trafficking. Arms trafficking goes hand in hand with terrorism, or you can tie them in any way you'd like. If you have any questions, any problems, call me. I will always be glad to help you. If you can't figure out what you want to write about, or if you can't figure out how to fill the paper, I certainly can help you fill that paper because there's so much out there on all of these, and I'll help you find it if you need it. Again, my number I'll put with the discussion part of this, and if you need anything, I wish you the best of luck. It's been great having you here. Bye-bye.